Uh, with the motion, this House supports introduction of moral conduct clause in major awards rewarded for meritocratic achievements such as the Nobel Prize, the Pulitzer Prize, Oscars, and Grammy. Without further ado, I call upon the Prime Minister to open the case of the government here.
Check. Is it started yet?
What? Yes, you're audible, by the way.
Okay. Okay, starting in 3, 2, 1. OG stands is that we support the introduction of moral conduct clause in words like Oscar, Grammy, or etc. Both sides need to consider that everyone can win something in their life. They can accomplish something for their work hard. We agree that in order for you to get awarded, you need to accomplish certain meritocratic. You need to accomplish a certain things that make you public seen, right? Like for example, you were awarded for best album if you're a musician. Yes, they work hard, therefore they deserve a reward. This is the principle that we agree need to be held by both sides of the house. But we think that in context of a work that known by like a lot millions of people, for example like Grammy, that all people will see you when you are awarded, behavioral thing to be considered. Therefore, we support this motion. There are two things that I will talk in this speech. First of all, what is uh, the principle level, and second will be like the pragmatic approach, right? First, in principle, we think that the possibility of potential honoree to get awarded due to like behavioral misconduct they done in the past will be happening in our side of the house. This will include the equity violation that has done that they have done in past even. We think that behavioral standard wouldn't be necessarily become a strict standard that these people need to obey. For example, like they suddenly need to be like a very good, like decent human being. Like they need to like show charismatic individuals, yada yada yada. I don't think that will happen in our side of the house. People just need to show some decency as a public figure because they are seen by millions of people. Why we think this is important and justified under our side of the house that Helder introduced the moral conduct laws. We think the award holder are being criticized overly and seen by public because the media will portray them as the holder. They will seen as the one that accountable for their awards that they give to these people. Because like for example, if we see in like musician have a lot of fans. The fans also criticize the Grammy, for example, for choosing another musician that they are not agree on. So therefore, like will create a lot of discussion. This will create a lot of discourse inside of the society of how Grammy management will or like award some certain of people. I think that they have right in the first beginning to like introduce this kind of model because they also work hard in order to manifest this kind of event. They already like some showed meritocration that, for example, in Grammy or like in Oscars, they already held like several years ago. That already so long, and the result or like the outcome also can be benefited by the people by the awardee. For example, their popularization get increased highly after they got awarded, and so on and so forth. I think because of this reason, I think Grammys or these awards holder have the rights to introduce this kind of model in order for them to keep their image as accountable institution, and at the end of the day so that they can have the longevity to keep on going to help this kind of event, right? Second, I'm going to approach to principle level because at the end of the day that we will set a parameter to public that just because you are making good peace by ethics and your well-being, you are still your well-being are also will consider because you are watched by millions of people that could be your friends or people in general. These people will take you as their example, as their aspiration. When people see you as someone who done moral misconduct and still get rewarded, they will justify whatever action you do and follow it. For example, like drug abuse, because because I think people don't have kind of rationalization that, oh, these awarded people can still do wrong, because I think that when you are awarded, meaning that you have impacted the world in good because you are awarded, right? Meaning that you are inherently good person. That whatever action you do can be justified for whatever reason. Other reason given is that, for example, in your fans, that you and your fan share relativism, that you're the only thing that your fans can relate to. For example, you share the same background, like as a low class people, and therefore they will follow whatever action you've done in past, this moral misconduct that you've done, and like creating like the disruption inside of the society, and even so you create the misconduct in like a long group in general, right? What happened in their side of the house in opposition, if they don't do this, is that the possibility of even Helder to be criticized even more when they award like society seen behavioral standard misconduct that they think, right? They even conduct, even Helder like Grammy will be prone to hostile action, such as uh, they will get scam, or like they will get banned, or like the support that the society have given like in these years will cut off even more, because they think that, oh, Grammy is no more accountable. The musician, or like the honoree also will boycott this event, and at the end of the day, this awards even will not happen anymore in their side of the house. Second thing is that at the worst scenario, that people will follow the awardee because they think that they share the same relativism. They will do crimes, for example. They will do or like even though like it's like a petty crime, resulting that it will create a disrupt in society, because people will know have rationalization that that awardee can still do misconduct, right? Um, with all this consideration, we're so proud to propose.
Okay, thank you very much, Prime Minister, for that speech. I'm so sorry for not reminding you previously, but I just want to say that please mention your POI preference before your speech, and please, other debaters, respect the person's POI preference. Okay. Thank you very much once again, Prime Minister, for that speech. I call upon Leader of the Opposition. Take care.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Unfortunately, for now, for him or PUI just through chat. Okay. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, we think OG case is taken for granted for this awardee to begin with, because there is a specific reasons why this awardee or candidates achieve this kind of achievement is based under significant reasons. The reason for this awardee or other candidates achieve in this kind of that process, doing awardee of Grammy and Nobel Prize and so on, this means there already existing mechanism on checking on these people, checking on this track record, checking on this creation, checking on these significant contributions to the people. It means there's have to be separated. It means this is a significant reason why this awardee or candidate that is already submit a certain degree of having like most of like more likely that have already contributed regardless of what they kind of morality that have immoral and so on. The reason why these days deserve it, because that creation is mostly entertaining and motivating people themselves, for example, regardless on who are making it. We think this is a specific reason why they meet a certain creation, why they have deserved it, regardless on people that have that immoral and so on. We think OG case is talking about a worst scenario on that people will doing crime and so on to follow this kind of awareness, for example. We think this is really weird case because we think there's already been a strong check and balance on these people. We'll see this kind of people that, or if this kind of people is really bad and evil, there's already people will viraling it. For example, that people will talk and discussing on this kind of specific actors and so on. They're exactly going to have separated for immorality and separated from the creation that is really useful and contributed to the people. We think this kind of worst scenario is not likely to be happen under this our scenario. OG have to characterize the parameter that there is on the moral conduct itself, because we think under this side of the under our both side of the house, nobody is perfect, right? For this awareness and people, because the comparison of moral contributions, if regardless of whoever achieved this, we think this is have to be a parameter. Moral conduct clause will meet a certain degree of bias and prejudice. Some people may see slapping person because insult is not immoral, but some people might think that people that have defending and protect self mechanism for this for like Will Smith to protect his wife, for example, is moral and have the obligation in the begin with. This is a moral conduct have to be parameter. Under this side of the house, this kind of people, the parameter will going to be like a forcing where they forcing every people to tend to have the perfect personalities. This means there will be a certain degree of bias prejudice. This is going to be harmful because this kind of worthy is not be like a decreasing of appreciation and decreasing of quality of the worthy itself. And people will not see the achievements, but people will see the people that always be a kind of thing that is going to be happen. I'm going to talk three things in my speech. I'm going to characterizing on meritocratic achievements. I'm going to characterizing the honor of award and other candidates. And secondly, I'm going to say explaining why the status quo is enough to be a mechanism, and lastly about the outcomes that OO will achieve and our goals. All said is simple. We want to separate creation and work to individuals that we separate separate the actions and morality. We want to separate this and the creation itself. We want to prove that these people will end up incentivized to be moral itself. Coming to the first thing about the characterization on meritocratic achievement. We think achievement is created based upon hard work and patience, i.e. acting, books, making a books, producing films, and contributing to charities, and so on. Secondly, we think the process during creation is apart from the personalities or morality. Reason is because this could require professionalism that kind of separated kind of like a personal life and personal prejudice and bias. This is secondly that they will have incentivized to have a good career, good images and reputation, right? Because they kind of have a good future. They have to have a good reputation in order for them to making a career, in order for them to creating a connection, in order for them to creating a job and so on. And lastly, within the ethical code that are formal or informal on specific career, for example, a producer of films, for example, actors exactly maintain a certain degree of preventing them in kind of situation of morality, even if they can't. Secondly, characterization of why most of this honor of award that OG have talked meet a certain immoral situations. This is happening for a reason, right? Because, for example, during the war, the oppression or the stressful on high pressure of workloads, for example, i.e. acting 24 hours of actively every day and actively contributing every day in charities, is the pressure that forced these people to tend to have like a personal, to have a hard personalities and so on. Is exactly going to be happen to be immoral, like most people. In the moment when the people insulting them, for example, they have more like tendencies to have a bad personalities. That is exactly happen for a reason. And secondly, people often intervene their personal life. This has always been happen. For example, like with Smith, that people intervene in personal life. This is going to be that Will Smith slap their face, for example. This is going to be happen because of one personal life. The impacts of psychology of dishonor that doing something that immoral. This is perfect a human nature that's going to be happen because, and this is not the active effort or effort activities by dishonor, honor the offerer. They tend to have subconscious of this kind of actions. We think this is not fair when this awardee will have to struggle to having perfect personalities under their side of the house. We think this is harmful for the awardees that tend to have perfect personalities because that have very hard to do because they tend to have made a certain of personal experience that not actively act to that kind of actions. We think why the status quo is enough to be a mechanism. During the process of checking these individuals or Grammy Awards, they are already checking on track record, checking on legit creations. I.e., for example, if these are immoral person, for example, Nicki Minaj are banned in film, the audition in Grammy, for example, this is the other way of mechanism that's going to be counter balance for the mechanism. The conclusion here, this is a mechanism of preventing this kind of immoral person that's going to be like comparative on government. They tend to have more like people that already tend to have people that is very very hard to do to become a very very good morality that is not legit and good, because the people or the judge, for example, will see that not met a specific parameter, because every person will see something is immoral. People might think this is not moral. This is moral. This is going to be tend to have very very hard mechanism for this government side of the house. We think based on this reason, we think this kind of separate awardee is have to be separated, because regardless of that, this kind of creation is like contributing to the people itself, because people that already the status quo, people is already see that this kind of creation is not upon merely on this kind of personalities on these people. Even when it comes to the point this creation is influence people in a good way, this is going to be separate. This kind of reason we try to oppose.
Okay, thank you very much, Leader of the Opposition. Next speaker, Deputy Prime Minister.
Okay, yes, wait. Um, um, POI through chat box, please. So don't unmute yourself. Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. OO failed proof to one. The important thing is about the check and balance between the Grammy Award and also the artist and also the fans itself. They say the check and balance will be, it's already exists in status quo if the artist doing some bad things. So society is already like doing check and balance. We think that check and balance itself is not enough in their side of the house. So that's why we want to put this behavioral standard for the award in the first place. Because if we are not like giving this behavior standard towards the artist, we think that artists will still like not changing their behavior from at least like the decency or showing the good things to their fans. Because as long as they think that as long as I able to create music, I will not change my behavior. This is what I am, and yeah, and so on and so forth. They don't care anything. Because even if OG also said that it's not like this in our side of the house. It's not like the artist like doing like only like doing crime, or the example is like doing crime, so we won't give them awarded and so on and so forth. We think that in a moderate scenarios, when the artist itself like doing discrimination, hate speech, and so on and so forth, we think that this kind of example is so it's like just so we want to give this behavior standard, because when this artist is like doing discrimination and hate speech, we think that the fans also will imitate what the artists do in order to look cool, for example, because so it will like justify, the fans will justify themselves to doing discrimination because the artist itself also doing discrimination and hate speech. So that's why we want to give this behavioral standard to prevent that. So to prevent bad things that the artist will show to the fans. So one thing is in my speech, I will gonna explain to you in what is gonna be the response of the fans in three actors. First, the response of the fans. Second, in the response of society, and also the response of the Grammy that we give this behavior standard. First, as we know, that fans of an artist is like diverse. It will be like the fans is like in their pure from the artist, or the fans itself is underage. Within the creating of artists cannot be like limited by the age of fans, even if they are warning, for example, like this artist is the fans of this artist like should be like in 21st upper, for example. So this is what we're scared of if the artist itself didn't show the good thing to their fans, especially for the teenage fans. As we know that teenage society is easy to copy their idol to look cool, for example, even if they are even if like it's easy for them to doing what their fans do, being egocentric for themselves, justify what everything that things that they fans do, so they will follow it. Even if there are also parents control, or parents already warning this teenage, we think that the status quo is not enough, because parents are still not able to control this teenage unless they are the one who can unless they are the one who have that to control themselves. So that's why we want to put this behavior standard, because we put these artists should show the good behavior of themselves to society, to the audience, to their fans. This is also benefit in four actors. First, from society, because especially for the artists who have who has for example, for the artists who have like bad track record in the past, artists who have scandal in the past, we think that from this scandal, this artist really help for them to get society intention back. They already have bad image from society, so we think that by this behavior standardization, society, these artists will able to fix their good name of from society by having and fulfill the behavior of standard. So at the end, society will respect them, and they will get more fans, for example. So they have like two things to do: behavior standard, and also to get the creation back. Secondly, it also responds to the fans who already like loves them in the first place, like they are love them whatever of their fans condition is, they just adore them, even if they just adore them. But in that fans the fans is already like, because of that society image from themselves, these fans being pressured by society, because they are like because they are loving the artist, like because they are loving the bad actress, the artist that who always have scandal, for example. So we think that by having this behavioral standard, artists will be able to bounce back, and fans itself will be like freely to do, for example, fangirling or fanboying, for example, to them without any, without being oppressed or without being judged by society for loving their idol. And third, it also relate to pressure of parents. Parents will not gonna be worried about the role model of their kids. They all allow them to love their kids to love the artists, for example. And also, it's also impact to the Grammys. Will the Grammys themselves will get more supporters because of the good image that they have? The more good quality award that have behavior standards and also have like good creation, the more supports the Grammys award. Comparing also the house, these artists will be hard, especially for the scandal artists, will be hard for them to bounce back after the scandal. It's the creation that they make is not enough because they have to get the society attention that they are good. So with this, they have chance to show the goodness of the self. And also, the last thing is, just because you work so hard, this will not justify you to become a problematic person. So at the end, this behavior standardization is really important to be this award. So that's why we proud to boss.
Thank you, DPM, for that speech.
Support, sorry.
Okay, thank you, DPM, for that speech. Next speaker, Diallo, please.
Hi, I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Here I through chat, please. Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Two clarification under right. First, in this debate, we're not just focusing on, for example, Oscar award that only affects artists, but we're also talking about other meritocratic award like Nobel Prize, right? So if OG want to say that, oh yeah, this is just going to make them influence teenagers or parents, this is not this is like not specifically in this debate, but I'm also going to respond to that later, right? But secondly, we say that this award exists in the first place because they are aware of the individual for the work they do, right? So they award based on the work they do, not just because of the individuals. If the individuals is, for example, create good, if they, for example, this individual create good art, they're going to get rewarded because of the merit. But if they make bad art, they're not going to reward, right? So we say that under outside the house, this kind of award are still aware that their people are still aware that this award is making it are awarding these people because of the art they do, right? So two issues in this debate. First, about how this actually affect the award, right? OG's concern, and secondly, how this actually second issue about individual behavior and their influence, right? First issue then about how this affect the award, right? OG said this is going to if, for example, they award people who are morally not correct, for example, like bad behavior, this is going to create backlash for the award. Therefore, they need to prioritize put this kind of metric in order to make this award better, right? To respond to this, first we say that this award, for example, why do we say that this people were given this award, right? Because they contribute to humankind, for example. This is like Nobel Prize, like people who actually contribute to humankind. But secondly, for example, this is because they are able to see the world different from real life, right? We say that if OG want to say that, oh yeah, these people based on morality, for example, people really care about the morality, we said this should be separated between the work and the individual, right? Because if you want to judge the individual, for example, you can do it in real life. There are already enough check and balance, like my first speaker explained to that there are, for example, cancel culture or for example on banning them to join the award. But therefore, under our side of the house, we said that it's important for us to really give this award based on the work they do, right? So we say that if they want to say that, oh yeah, this is like it should be the metric of the word of the award, we say that they still have, for example, have the incentive to still be moral because of the check and balance, right? But secondly, we said that it means that on their side, this is going to be harmful for the award inside, right? This is going to be like backlashing, because this means that on their side of the house, like this means that the award is going to harm the award, because this means that on their side of the house, for example, good art or work won't really be rewarded. They're just going to award like the safe arts only, like safe peoples. Therefore, this is just not going to be competition of making good work, but there's also like, for example, trying to maintain the reputation, right? This is harmful because this is the A. The reward is going to be seen as losing prestige, right? This is their only reward, for example, similar work that have a certain templating, right? This is going to back to templating art or research for Nobel Prize because they're afraid that if, for example, they award like groundbreaking work, for example, the people are going to see that, oh yeah, this is actually harmful for the behavior of the artist, right? We say that on our side of the house, because there are check and balance for the individual as a public figure. For example, there are news that criticize the individual for their behavior, for example, like cancel culture. Like when Will Smith is rewarded for Oscar, they're not question why Oscar give this to them because they know that he is a good actor, for example. But they for example, they only criticize him as being a bad individual who, for example, like do this kind of misconduct, right? So we say the under side house is still enough for this actually makes the award under their side house is going to be backlashing, right? So we say that the framing is two things, right? First, on government, they're only making the award to only reward to play safe things, right? Because, for example, this is only a competition on morally good or not, right? Even if it's not that of good work, as long as they play it safe and in order to maintain this kind of image to the people. But secondly, under our side of the house, we already have, for example, this kind of check and balance to make sure that this artist, for example, have at least a certain amount of balance. But even if, for example, they have that they don't have enough morality under our side of the house, it is still okay, right? Coming to my second issue about individual behavior and influence, right? Firstly, OJ said that this is going to, for example, not enough control for the parents for because the artist is going to make bad influence, right? Two responses. A, for example, exactly because we reward it based on work, for example. So if they make good art, for example, the people is going to be rewarded for their art, for the art they do, right? If this artist, for example, make a movie that is not according to the ratings, they are, for example, warning or ratings to check and make sure that these children watch it according to their age, right? It's not our burden to prove that children will, for example, watch according to the age. What we know is good art is still going to be good art and going to be rewarded under their side of the house. But secondly, even if this individual is bad, right? I already told you that there are check and balance from society, for example, for the to make sure that these people are, for example, if they are really that bad, they're going to get cancer, right? Because my first speaker explained to you that it is very important for them to make sure that they have incentives to make sure that they have good image, because they still need to, for example, extend want to maintain a long-term career in order to maintain that, right? But secondly, OG said that this, for example, going to make the society, if they, for example, follow the moral, it's going to make society respect them and have more fans, right? We say that means that on their side of the house, the fan is going to the fan is just going to love them for the cult of personality, right? This is harmful because this means that they're just going to be a competition of reputation, which is going to, they don't really need to make a very good work. As long as they, for example, follow this kind of certain conduct, they are going to be filtered out, and like good artists who, for example, come from do controversial thing, for example, are going to be filtered, so they're just going to win on the basis of reputation, right? So we say this means that they're able to, for example, just make this kind of personality in order to harmful, right? But coming to my extension, so we say, but this kind of individual behavior and influences can also good under our side of the house, right? But coming to my extension, why do we say that actually groundbreaking work actually comes from controversial people, right? This is going to, for example, tackle Oji's point that, for example, this individual is need to actually make good morality, for example, to make good art, right? We say that a lot of cases, artists like, for example, Picasso is actually a womanizer, for example, Hayao Miyazaki, he also a womanizer. We say that this is proof that actually, for example, artists or work who actually come from this controversial individual, they are the people who are going to make groundbreaking work and going to be rewarded, right? We say this is important because this means that on their side, they're not going to reward this kind of good artists, and this means that the meritocracy that is going to happen on their side is going to backlash, right? Because now they are not just based on meritocracy, but also based on the moral, based just on the moral metric and the image that they need to maintain on other people. We say that this work should be separated from the individual, because, for example, this you want to people to like enjoy the art regardless of the individuals making it, right? The for other side, we are very proud of.
Okay. Thank you very much, Diallo. Next speaker, member of government.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, give me a second. For the BOI preference, please through chat, but please don't spam. I will start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Panels, please do understand what happened in the opening debate is that the government side of the house only giving you a narration, oh, this is will be harming, like the children of the parents and so on and so forth, because there's no check and balance. And also the OG just give you an example about of how the Grammy popularity will be there. It will be beneficial for Grammy and so on and so forth. That we think that is not the burden of proof to bring this debate on how the Grammy will be beneficial for the Grammy and so on and so forth. And what happened in the opening opposition is that they explained to you about how a really perfect check and balance happening in the status quo right now, but they don't even give you an example about how people having that kind of check and balance itself, right? And they just talking to you about how the big ideas of the OO, they said like, oh, they really want to separate merit and the morality because you know that people already work hard and so on and so forth. The question is that if we are separate them, the merit and also the morality, how can they answer if that there is any cases, for example, like people having really, like artists having really good music productions or the arts, for example, but they use drugs, for example, to do it. They use a lot of drugs and also like prohibited things and also not a good and not morality things to create that kind of art. This is the question that the opposition side of the house never answer and give explanation to you, right? So this is why the big likelihood that they step to explain their argumentation cannot be acceptable in this debate. Secondly, talking about how the opening oppositions think like, oh, it's okay, like check and balance is already there, like good image, the artists have a good image, and right now in the status quo, they already have a mechanism like checking the track record, like it's already countervailing in status quo. But one thing is that the checking track record of the morality of the artist means that one of the method to check their morality, like the moral conduct clause, right? This means that they having half stance. If OO really wants to separate the merit and also separate the morality, then just remove the track record method in choosing the awardee, right? This is things that we don't understand, and how the cases of the opening opposition is really confusing at the very first place. Then why here in CG we will explain to you about how this will be justified to do the moral conduct clause, and the secondly talking about why this is really important and the exclusive way and one thing way that we should do to make a betterment of the entertainment, also like the like a better role model and so forth. Firstly, talking about justifications, we believe that why the awardee is actually have a justification is that because of all kind of awarding, actually not about the like Nobel Prizes or the Oscar and so forth. All kind of awarding and competition is always have a standard, right? Okay, for example, in status quo right now, there's no standard of morality, but realize it or not, the standard is created by the right now is created by the subjectivity of the society itself. Means that the standard is already there, but the problem is no exact parameters and that set in the awardee and so on and so forth, right? So we believe that this kind of problematic thing should have a standard which we should we should use it, and we should make it from the panels of the awardee itself. We need to make like exact parameters on how the morality should be do by the awardee and so on and so forth. What is our mechanism there? We believe that the mechanism is that we will see the track, like what OO state, like we see the track record, background, past experience for actors first. We also see about the degree of the cases, for example, like sexual harassments or like basic crimes and so on and so forth, like hard crimes and so on and so forth. It's based on the also based on what punishment they already got and their commitment to come back or not, right? We should see their commitment to do not do it in the future and so on and so forth. This is really important because this is proof into the second argumentation talking about why this is really important. Because what happening in status quo right now is not like what OO said, not what OG said, like parents really should protect their children and so on and so forth. But the problem is in status quo, people start to normalize people making mistakes. What this is mean? It means like a lot of cases or an unmorality cases like that being overshadowed by other cases, right? For example, like small example, for example, like Zara JKT48, like sexual content easily forgotten by society by the time, right? This is show to you about how the cases of the people, especially the awardee and so on and so forth, can be easily changes and easily overshadowing by other cases. This means that people in society have a tendency and likelihood to being that irrational. This is likelihood that also forgotten by the opening government talking about the all people that easily and taking granted to 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 have a tendency to being irrational and so on and so forth. This also one of the factors coming from the big public figures itself, right? Like people easily normalize them, easily just the case show up then being overshadowed by other cases, but never be any have a quality check of balance of check and balance. Like people comfort so let's questioning about talking about there's will be check and balance and so forth and so on and so forth. But see how the people conversations with hate speech and bad words in Twitter or Instagram chat rows can it be counted as check and balance? Can it make the artist changes? We say that no, and we say no. Remember that the artists have a resilience. What this is mean? It means that because of they already get popularity, they already get work hard, like what the OO say. It means that they have a likelihood and can be have intention to do unmoral things, because like they can do anything they want. For example, like even if they haven't had comments coming from other fans, they can pay the buzzers, for example, or they can pay the police and so on and so forth. Things that never be explained by the opening oppositions. By the opening oppositions only play on the base case scenario, talking about artists really work hard and so on and so forth, without any considerations of what being like worst case thing will be happening in their certain time. This is why actually the CG should be better than other things. Thank you.
Okay.
I will start my speech in 3, 2, and 1. Panels on how the fresh idea coming from the closing oppositions talking about this is really good for the diversity and so on and so forth, and uniqueness like less minority and so on and so forth. They are also giving an argumentation about the bias, right? We believe that if you are talking about bias and standard, it will be accessed in both sides, right? But which one is better and giving more safe place towards the artist itself and also the society, right? We believe that on how the panels is choose and being a panels is having a really big and high credibility as a professionals, for example, and also how the panels also have a popularity and their big accountability that coming from the Grammy. Also, they're not only just just both they name, but also the event itself of the Grammy. We see that, okay, yes, the panels also reflect the society. But at least in our side of the house, we will giving a good choices to society to vote based on their merit, based on the artist or the awardee merit and moral, not only based on their merit like what the OO said. If we are talking about how the diversity of idea and uniqueness and minority and majority and so on and so forth, we believe that it also still there, right? Our panels is not that irrational, like we should differentiate about what the society want and the panels want. Okay, the panels is the reflection of the society, but they have also the bare minimum of the morality itself, right? Or at least we have like standard like SOP on how they should judge people and judge the awardee and the candidates, not based on their subjectivity but based on data, for example, but based on their experiences, like the criminal cases and so on and so forth, right? This is why, and the the mechanism of how the panels is not that irrational. The panels is not that easily, like just not choose the minority, and the panels is just choosing the majority and so on and so forth, and control by majority and so on and so forth. It will not happen in their side of the house. Exactly that kind of thing. And worst case, like, oh, the majority wins and so forth, will just will be happen in the opposition, closing oppositions, because of, like, we give them all the voices toward the society, right? This is will be highly more highly hard to control itself, because like we are having gay voters for like really big really big mag really big society, like the number of society, right? Also, we cannot just like choosing a Grammy, for example, by vote and so on and so forth. Like, not all society will be accessible to it, for example, and so on and so forth. So at least in our side of the house, we give preventions of how the things that we don't want to happen in the future and so on and so forth, in at the very first place itself, to having us um setting a standard to them, to not to uh, based on the morality and so on and so forth. So we believe that if we are talking about the bias and the diversity of idea, uniqueness, and so on and so forth, it's still there, because panels itself also have a rationality to doing an objective thing, and so on and so forth. Even if they have a subjectivity, the amount of it and digit of it much more better, rather than we just open up and don't care about the morality and so on and so forth. That will be impacted on how the opening opposition also don't give you an explanation about the, like, what majority and what society behavior, like what I'm all talk about before, talking about how they normalize mistakes, and how also the OG talking to you about the fans characterizations and so on and so forth. So we believe that OO just simplified their cases itself. So why CG it should be win this debate? Because we already giving an explanation and the analysis about how what is the problem that is existing in status quo right now, about how people are normalized to make a mistake and so on and so forth, and how the the degree of this awardee is being as the role model that is will be impacted to our society and so on and so forth. And also this is the accountability of the Grammy itself, and why the OG is actually cannot be apart than us, because they only just like giving explanation about and taking for granted about just talking that people don't have rationalizations, for example, like awardee consuming drug, and then like public instantly and usually just consuming drug and so on and so forth. No, like step-by-step analysis, talking explanations about it. And also we think that our cases talking about the 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 accountability, and also the problem that is exists and what we want to fix is much more important than the OG explanation talking about, oh, this is the for the sake of the goodness for the award population and so on and so forth. So that's why we should be upper than OG, and why actually we should upper than OO. OO never giving you also explanation about what kind of check and balance. If like we are already questioning about what kind of the implementation of the check and balance cannot be explained by them, right? If they want to separate merit and morality, we don't see any like clear mechanism how they should separate it, like what what things that they want to do. If also there is cases like people like what I'm talking before, like how people like produce art but they use to produce it by trucks, for example, and so on and so forth. So this is why actually OO also cannot answering our questions talking about them. The OO also giving you explanation about, oh, they also already struggle, they have a really struggle to have a perfect personalities, it's pressuring them and so on and so forth. But we see, and back to the very first place, that the morality is actually a really basic things, right? Like you don't need like 2 years training or 5 years training to become a good person and so on and so forth. But this is like like life experiences and so on and so forth, that you should maintaining them to prove yourself that you are worthy to get the award, right? So that's why actually there is no explanation coming from OO talking about the check and balance and so forth. That's why CG should be in this debate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Gov Whip. Last but not least, the opposition whip. And for the other three teams, can you please write your names and your speaking position in the chat box supaya ngisi ballotnya lebih gampang. Maybe Prime Minister siapa, Deputy Prime Minister siapa gitu. Please write it in the chat box ya. Okay, opposition whip, you may continue your speech.